This is Jock and Graff.
Hi, I'm Neil Collins.
You are listening to the Unused Substitutes.
The Unused Substitutes.
And you're listening to the Unused Substitutes.
Get off the pitch!
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood, I got a problem and it's complicated. Going through changes and I just can't ignore the signs. There and now it's so loud it hurts. Hear me, fella, hear me, how when the full moon is out.
Off the row, ball's gonna bounce down and swing in the box. Bicycle kick! Goal! Rowdies! What a play! What a shot! And it's 1-0 Rowdies!
Good evening, everybody. You're listening to the Unused Substitutes. We are live on Radio St. Pete, part of the Beautiful Game Network, and sponsored by Roughnecks Scarves. For the last time this year, bringing you the green and gold gospel, your Rowdies Talk Radio. I'm trying to think of another one to fill in here, but I won't do it right now and kill the already and done. We've already lost the momentum. I'm still Matt. And on the other side of the internet is someone else who has been signed for Zozo. Steven, how are you doing?
I have the sads today.
Why is that?
Because Liverpool beat Monterey, and I'm very depressed.
Oh.
I'm very depressed.
I'm very happy. I see that you're wearing red, though. I thought you'd be celebrating this.
No, I am depressed. This is my red shirt of sadness tonight.
I'm wearing the red sweatshirt of happiness, then.
Now, in all fairness, Monterey looked really good in that game
to
a certain point, but somebody from CONCACAF has to win the Club World Cup someday. Somebody!
Just not this year. I'm okay with it. Just not this year.
Apparently not.
Going to win all the stuff we haven't won before or in a while this season. I'm good with it. All right, so let's get into this, man. We've got some news, finally.
Oh, news. Lots.
After us being teased about this for a couple weeks. Well, first, we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go just in calendar order by when things were announced because, well, it's the way my OCD works. So the first thing the Rowdies announced was, actually, I don't really, this might not even, well, yeah, I guess it is, 2 days ago. And that's, I've got my notifications on for when the Rowdies tweet something, especially this time of year, because I know there's going to be some signings at some point coming. And my phone beeps during class. I'm like, okay, first I got to make sure I mute my stuff here because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not supposed to have my phones going off like that. But then I'm like, oh, let me see who it is. And it's the 2020 Open Tryouts.
Yes.
So, January 11th, 2020, the Rowdies will host their first open tryouts since 2015. There's an article. I hadn't even read too much into this until literally just this second.
Way to go.
I know, right? The open tryout will be at the Premier Sports Campus in Lakewood Ranch, or as I like to say, like about 10 minutes from my house. Players aged 16 and up are invited to showcase their skills in front of head coach Neil Collins and the coaching staff. At least one player from the open tryout will be invited to join the Rowdies for a closed combine the following weekend. Last year, there was not an open tryout, but there was a closed combine, and that produced a guy we know as Juan Tejada, signing his first professional contract, having a hell of a year, and really, to me, should have been one of the young players of the year, or mentioned up there. So a couple things that jump out at me at this. First off, because like I said, I'm just now reading the details. Dude, it's the week before Christmas break in schools. Like, it's getting everything done. It's getting people to turn in stuff from like 3 weeks ago. I've seen the notifications, but I have not had a chance to dig deep into anything. Like literally, I just got home like an hour ago.
In other words, what you're saying is this is the reason why you're not like a mainstream podcast radio host.
Well,
and that's why you are the host of the Unused Subs.
I mean, put it this way: being a teacher still pays more.
This is true. Wait for it. At least it pays. Period.
Well,
I mean, to be fair.
So the one thing that jumps out at me is the players aged 16 and up, and the reason this jumps out at me is because of something we didn't talk about before the show, but that we probably have thought about or talked about talking about tonight. The rumors, the whispers, I believe started by, it was either Lakeland or the Villages, that Rowdy's U23 is coming back this year. So they're advertising this as an open combine or an open tryout for, in theory, the senior team. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's some scouting going on for possible U23 players here as well.
Which would make a heck of a lot of sense. Yeah, we saw that news. Like I said, it wasn't really breaking news, but somebody kind of mentioning it on Twitter. Somebody from, League Two, mentioning that it was a possibility that team was going to be coming back, because that was supposedly like that was some sort of expectation as they were drawing up the conferences, which again is great. We all love it. We know that Neil is really focused with building a club from the ground up. That has always been his focus, of trying to tap into the community as deeply as possible. And that's what that's what his direction is. And of course, Lee and Brian and everybody have really done what they can to get him the support to do that. There's one problem though, and this has been the problem consistently, is how much of a connection really is there between a League Two team and your senior team, whether that's a League One game or a championship or an MLS team. It's really not. Like it's at the moment, everything is just, okay, you get to wear the shirt and thanks for coming and playing and wearing the shirt for a season in our League Two outfit. Like there's not a lot of connection because, and this is where it really is important, MLS has things like, discovery rights and homegrown rights and all sorts of stuff that they can build into their academies. So that way at least it encourages a player to go into the academy there. USL really doesn't have that when it comes to League Two teams. And I would think that would be a really easy way for USL teams to want to invest in, or even MLS teams for that matter, to try and invest in a like under 23 type development squad. Is, okay, here's your contract. You get to play for the Rowdies U23. And if you go into USL, or if somebody wants to sign you in USL, like the Rowdies have first rights. And so they would have to buy you from, like if Loudon came out or Charleston came out and said, hey, we want blah, blah, blah player who was playing with the U23s for your team like a year ago or whatever, you'd have to actually buy the rights to him from the Rowdies. I don't really know if that's feasible business-wise yet, because obviously there's not a lot of money involved and nobody wants to spend anything right now on players. But
although you are starting to see there is some even if it's minor, like in the 4 or 5 figures, there are starting to be some transfer fees paid. I think Indy bought a player from League One for a $7,000 transfer fee, and if nothing else, it's setting the precedent that this is what could be the future. And to honestly, to a League Two club, well, I think this is a League One club, but like $7,000's not.
That's great.
That's
look, at this point, I'm happy if it's $1 because it's better than a pack of soccer balls.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying,
free
like
hotel room.
A few years ago, it was a pack of soccer balls and a hotel room.
Bus ride to the stadium.
Now granted, there's actual like monetary value in that, so I really can't knock it that much. But still, like, I'd rather actual just straight cash.
Free tickets for the Old Town tourist trolley around town.
Rights to your name as an identity as an entire club.
they'll put together a watch list, a playlist of stuff you can watch on Netflix in the hotel. A year of Disney Plus. At some point, that's going to get involved. At some point.
This is true.
This
is the way.
Yeah, I have spoken. So you mentioned the we did go ask for some confirmation on this. Do you want to give the exact response that we got? No. You said it a few minutes ago before we were on air. We will continue to develop our men's and women's pyramid of our operation. So that's the first time we've heard anything regarding a female counterpart, and that's I wouldn't read into that too far and say NWSL to Tampa Bay 2021. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But there was the WPSL side with Tampa Bay United for the season, and I think they at least didn't play last year. I can't remember if it's that they shut down operations totally. I know a lot of their players went to play for other semi-pro amateur women's sides in the area. But it would be nice to see something along that lines develop, because I don't want to say what's the carrot you dangle, but what's the incentive for the girls coming up through the Tampa Bay United program with no senior team of some sort to go to? So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it was an interesting response, to say the least.
And I mean, look, the women's program in the country on a professional level, I mean, obviously at the amateur level and the collegiate level, it's about as developed as anybody in the planet for the last 30 or 40 years. I mean, there's no question about, nobody doubts the reason why we have the most dominant women's national team is because we've got an unbelievable youth and semi-pro, if you count college, system set up right now. Everything right now is just about how to get up to the pro level. And, as more teams get involved in NWSL, the logical next step beyond that is what will be kind of below NWSL. Eventually you're going to have a second division, pro, semi-pro type system. Like
a women's PDL league, basically.
Yeah, you're going to get something somewhere eventually. I mean, I don't know how far out that is. It's probably pretty far out. But, I mean, that's a logical next step.
You know who would be a good person to ask? Former USWNT star, Tampa Bay United Director of Coach and Player Development, Tiffany Milbritt.
There you go.
Maybe we should reach out and see if we can get a few minutes with her at some point in time.
Yeah,
we still have some off-season episodes to fill with some ideas. Maybe that'll be a 2020 interview, as in the year, not the
vision. But it could be the vision.
Not the news magazine television show.
True.
Possibly. All right, so let's move on from there, because the thing everyone wants to hear about, the Louisville FC crest. No, let's talk about new players first. Faking Patrick out there. He says he's not listening live for the first 20 minutes, so I'm kind of stalling for time here before we start.
Oh, yeah. No, we're going to just hammer it later on the show. It's going to be great. He thinks he is escaping judgment. And, oh, no, sir. No, you're not.
Look, we lost the game. This is the chance we get to get a win here. We're going to get to it. But before we get to that, we'd been told, we heard, I'm sure you heard the whispers too, as far back as the playoff game against Louisville, that we'd already signed players for the upcoming season. I had heard whispers at Al Lang that night that it was a player from St. Louis specifically, but didn't have an idea what the name was. And my first thought was, if it's somebody you're going to go sign, like St. Louis's season was done because they didn't make the playoffs, as I predicted. Reminder.
I hate you.
Look, I am right so infrequently that when it happens, I have to remember those. But if you're going to go sign someone that early, like it's not even someone that would be on the roster for us last year for the playoff game, although maybe we could have used him. It had to be somebody pretty good, and I need to go back in our DM, our group DM, and see. But Lewis Hilton, who was the first announced player, was the kind of guy where I'm like, that could be a guy that maybe you went and said, let's make sure if this guy's available, we get him right now to get this deal done and get it over with. And when it was announced yesterday at 10 a.m., 10 and 2 are the times to keep an eye on Rowdy's Twitter, apparently, these days.
Yeah.
Rowdy's announced, and it's a 2-year contract. Doesn't say anything about an option year. So this is trying to build in some stability, build in some continuity in the roster rather than 1 year in a club option. Further contract details not disclosed. Hilton played the last 2 years with St. Louis FC. He's a midfielder. 2 seasons before that with the Charlotte Independents. Has played 126 matches and nearly 9,000 minutes worth of USL Championship experience to the Rowdies midfield. He's got some connections to the team already, besides that his last name matches up with the hotel across the street from Al Lang. But he played with Jan Ekra in Charlotte with the Independents in 2016, 2017. And he played with, I believe, he played with current League Two side Ocala Stampede, which was then coached by Rowdy's assistant coach Shane Roberts, before turning professional with Charlotte. Hiltonberg began his career in his native England in the academies of Plymouth Argyle and Exeter City before coming to the United States for college and then turning pro, and has made his way here. Neil Collins says about him, he's a player that we've pursued for a long time, delighted to finally secure. Lewis has many technical attributes that will improve our team, namely his range of passing and dead ball expertise. It is his will to win and professionalism that makes him such an important signing for next year. We all kind of thought maybe the first player announced would be a defender since we had none, but we added another midfielder to the ranks. What's your thoughts on Lewis Hilton?
Well, the important thing there, first of all, let's face it, it's the Rowdies and it's me, so I'm going to overanalyze it to death. There's a couple of important things here. First of all, the 2-year contract thing is huge. I love it. I absolutely, positively, 100% love the fact that it's a more than 1-year contract. He's 26, which, pretty much right in the ballpark of what most of our players are tending to age out at right now. Funny enough, you're going to see that age pop up a couple times with these announcements. I think the important thing for me is that he was a really big, important piece of St. Louis. Like, we got a player who started 32 of 34 games for St. Louis last year, and had a substitute in a 33rd and one other game. He had the second most minutes overall for St. Louis. So here's a guy who's, basically in the prime age of his life, 26 pretty much. We got him for multiple years and he's healthy. Like, there's no lagging injuries. It's not like he missed a lot of time. He's a solid athlete. And for the club, for St. Louis themselves, he finished the year with the most completed passes in St. Louis in 2019. That's fantastic because that's a kind of hole that we have right now when you look at the fact that Tarek Morad is gone. Now, granted, I know it's kind of a weird transition because, of course, Hilton is a midfielder, technically speaking, but still having those extremely reliable passers is something that it is a hole that we need to fill by definition. So that is exactly what Lewis is really bringing to this team. I love it. I'm all for it. This is fun. This is a good signing. And I think when we were looking back and we were expecting a defender. When we first heard that there was somebody from St. Louis that we had signed, we figured defense. But I'll take Hilton all day. That's fine.
All right, so yeah, and it's I think you mentioned seeing that age 26 pop up a lot during this. I think another thing that we're going to see, and we kind of did this. I feel like maybe not last year. Last year, a little bit of mix of both, but the year before we seemed to kind of do this. Younger guys, but that guys who have a lot of experience, have played a lot of games, have logged a lot of minutes. One of the things they meant that we were told. I can't remember exactly where we heard it from, but so there were 6 players under contract. They might have put this on Twitter, actually. 6 players under contract they're announcing this week. All of them have worn the captain's armband for their clubs at some point in time. So you're bringing in guys who have been looked at and viewed at and given the leadership roles in their clubs, and young guys with still a lot of minutes and a lot of games under their belt. So should have the ability and the energy to go out and hopefully put on a pretty good season. So the next guy up, we got a defender. It's a name that probably a lot of people are going to recognize. Forrest Lasso, coming here again on a 2-year contract. Again, a 26-year-old, 3-time USL All First Team selection. Was 2018 Defender of the Year with Cincinnati before they moved up to MLS. He went with them there. Was loaned out to Nashville last year. Has played also for Charleston. Spent 3 seasons in Charleston as well. Again, over 100 matches of USL experience. Joined Nashville pretty late last season, but still made the All-League first team. Still wore the armband for Cincinnati. I mean, for Nashville last year too. And we were talking before the show. I couldn't remember if it was me and you or if it was me and Dan, but we did a thing at one point. One player you would take off any team in the league to put on the Rowdies, and I'm pretty sure it was me. I don't want to toot my own horn. It may have been Dan. Like my pick was Forrest Lasso, and it kind of the reasons why I think Neil sums up in his quote right here about him. The qualities Forrest brings to our team are pretty obvious to anyone that has seen him play, with his fantastic aerial ability and the huge presence he brings to the heart of our defense. On top of that, he has a real hunger and desire to succeed that I think will help improve us as a team. I think the best way to sum up signing Forrest is I'm glad we don't have to play against him next season. This is a physical guy. To me, and you know, one of the questions that's been asked is was Pop Diakite going to be re-signed? Nothing's ruled out, at least publicly, but I think the signing of Lasso, like, this is your Diakite replacement.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree with that. I mean, he's a huge player, first of all, so he's just as physically dominant as Diakite is as far as body type goes. Now, mind you, if we end up signing Diakite and we have Lasso and Diakite in a 4-back as the 2 center backs, oh good lord. But oh my gosh, like that would be ridiculous. But the funny part about Lasso is that, again, what is he known for? He's known for having basically this on-field attitude of, I'm just going to kill people. Like that's his brand, right? He's not afraid to go in hard on tackles. In 14 games with Nashville, he got a red card. He got a red card in 14 games as a loaned player, but is still so physically dominant. He made the all-league team. Like, what?
if you need a reminder of who Lasso is, he's the one that took Joe Cole out and made a lot of us upset at the time. And when asked about it afterwards, said he was so excited it was an honor to play against him. He's one of his favorite players. I'm like, well, then why did you try to murder him? But I'm going to put this aside. Because I was like, hey, this is a guy, when he's on your team, you love him. When he's not, you can't stand him.
Precisely.
And every team needs a guy like that. Especially in a defender position. That's just, yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about that is that if you think about it, that's kind of a lot how I viewed Diakite last year. About like the type of on-field, he's not afraid to kind of do the gamesmanship stuff to try and get under the other team's skin or, you know, fake some pushing and shoving and things like that. That's what Diakite was. So Lasso is like literally filling that role almost to a T. I think it's a great, solid pickup, especially if Diakite is not coming back. I think that's a solid replacement.
And I don't think he is, but I also, like you mentioned, if you could put the two of them together in the backfield, oh man,
God, we wouldn't give up a goal all year. I mean, I'm kidding.
Well,
of course,
no,
but
because there'd be at least one game where both were suspended for yellow card accumulation. We'd give up a goal or two at that point, I have a feeling.
Exactly.
All right. Lasso said to say I'm excited would not come close to doing it justice. I've been able to witness firsthand the quality of football the Rowdies have produced throughout the years. And to be given the opportunity to be part of that legacy, let's just say it's time to go to work. History isn't going to write itself. I like that.
I like it too.
All right. Two more players announced today. First off, so we added to the, we had plenty of midfielders and forwards to start with. We've added more with Lewis Hilton and now another forward in the form of Kyle Murphy. You want to guess how old he is?
Guess what? He's officially 27.
No, they list him 26 in the press release.
He just turned.
Is it
No,
his birthday today?
Kyle Murphy, December 11th, 1992.
Yeah.
He's 27 years
Well,
old.
then they wrote this a while
A long
ago,
time
'cause it
ago,
says-
probably, which would make sense, to be fair.
Yeah. So Lasso and Hilton were 2-year contracts. Murphy is a 1-year contract with a club option for 2021. So he adds to our group of forwards, including Seba, Malik, Lucky, and Juan. Neil says they tried to bring him in last season. Didn't work out. I mean, he was at Loudoun United last year. Had played with the RGV Toros in 2016 for 2 years. 2018 with San Antonio FC, and then Loudoun United last year. And I have to go look and see. But when we did the game where we went to Loudoun near the end of the season last year and we did the preview for them,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was their leading scorer at the time. I remember the name.
Well, to be fair, he ended the season as Loudoun United's leading goal scorer.
I think he might have scored against us in that game too.
Maybe. That's true. I didn't even bother looking that up, but yeah, probably. This is important. We signed the number 1 leading goal scorer for Loudoun United, a team that started really soft to a degree and really surprised a lot of teams later in the year.
Yeah, had a really strong finish. They just couldn't dig themselves out of the hole they were in early on when they were no home stadium and they were trotting around the league for a while. But again, another guy, 27 now. Maybe that's why he only got the 1-year option. He's a little bit older than the other guys, so we gotta evaluate him. Again, over 100 USL Championship matches, has scored 25 total goals, including 13 in 27 starts for Loudoun last year.
And here's the important thing on this: he's 6 foot. Boy's got a little height to him. And when you compare that to our other 2 strikers, that's something we need. Well, technically, we've got more than that, but you know what I mean.
So, I don't want to... This is kind of weird. He's not the Leon Taylor replacement, but he's the Leon Taylor replacement. Like, an upgrade. But as far as... If you're looking at this roster... But if you're looking at this roster in terms of... right now, if you were going to pick starters... You're still looking like some combination of Seba, Juan, and Lucky. And then, Malik's listed as a forward, and sometimes they play him out in the wing. This might be one of your subs coming off the bench, at least to start with the season with.
Here's how I view the Murphy acquisition. To me, this is an absolute 100% challenge to Juan Tejada. This is if you think that you are good enough to be a starter in this league, here's it in your face. You want to get there, you need to earn your spot over somebody that's taller than you, has scored more goals than you, has more experience than you. Here's your challenge.
He didn't score against us in that October game, by the way.
Okay, good. That means that we don't have to
we don't have to
do any special blessings or exorcisms or anything before he's allowed to walk the tunnel. So that's good. That's good. I'm glad we don't have to worry about that.
Nice.
But for me, it's like, look, I was surprised that Lucky's is on the roster for next year. Granted, again, it could have been contractual when we got the contract from Louisville. Maybe that was already a part of the deal. But
right.
So for me, Lucky has always been a bench player. In this system, in the way that Neil formulates his squads, Lucky's always a second-tier player for this squad, which, don't get me wrong, he's a hell of a second-tier player to have a USL championship.
Yeah.
Because he's capable of starting in a lot of clubs. So let's not take anything away from him. But I mean, again, if you're throwing Malik out on the wing as a midfielder, even though he keeps getting listed as a striker, which is still weird to me, like I said, to me, this is a direct challenge to Tejada. So like, you can't go wrong here, right? Like, either Tejada beats him for a position and that means that Tejada's that much better, or he's better than Tejada and we just improve in the position anyways. Like, as a club, this is a win-win. And that's how I'm looking at that.
Okay. It could also be, I think it's more of a direct challenge to Tejada to maintain and continue to improve. Maybe also a challenge to Malik, too. If you want to play in this forward position, here's another guy you're going to have to beat out.
Yeah, and again, some of that also has to do with formations. Like I said, I was, in my opinion, last year, I was kind of surprised we never played Malik up top. I was legitimately kind of surprised that we never bothered doing that as a dedicated striker role, like had Seba and Malik playing together as a pair with maybe like Tejada playing out wide or something like that, or even having somebody else out wide. I would have done it just to change it up, just to do something different, just to throw a look against an opponent that they can't scout for, that because we never did it. I would have done it at least once and just seen what happened. Because it's a completely different style of play with Malik. If you put Malik as a dedicated striker, it's a completely different style of play and build-up compared to Tejada and Guizi up there. I don't know. We'll see. And we'll see what happens with Murphy. I think that's a solid pick. 6 foot tall, so it gives us some height up top. So which means that here's a name I'm going to throw out to you, because of course we also wrapped up last week our decade best 11 with bench players. Here's me crossing my fingers, hoping that Kyle Murphy is the 2020 version of Daniel Antoniuk.
Ooh. Going for the deep cut there.
There you go.
By the way, the Rowdies tweeted that picture of Yamada back at Al Lang Stadium like a day or two ago.
Yes.
He's come in town to hunt us down, hasn't he?
I hope so.
He is not happy about some of our picks, and he's going to let us hear it.
Well, okay. So to segue real quickly, because I know we're in the middle of topics of player announcements, but we could probably get to it later too. I want to point out formations make a difference as far as how we constructed those lineups. We can talk about that later, but to throw that in there.
Yeah, I kind of went with the 4-4-2 because it's just kind of the generic, most common formation in general. Yeah,
and Jake proved us all smarter. Jake once again proved that he's that much smarter than everybody else here. So it is funny
because I put together the back line thinking I'm going to put together an actual unit of a back line, and then I got to the midfield and I'm like, no, I'm just going with the 4 best midfielders. And being an American sports fan, I went with 4 offensive-minded, attacking midfielders going forward, and then forwards. I mean, the forwards picked themselves. I didn't really have to do anything with that.
Yeah. Well, we can grab on that a little bit later here because we still got one more player that we do need to discuss here because it is important that we get through the last one. That's Aaron Guillen,
our 2:00 guy from today.
Our 2:00 gentleman from today. Another whopping amazing sprite of a 26-year-old.
26-year-old defender. So we've now got two
defenders on the roster.
Yeah. Spent the last 2 seasons with North Carolina FC, making 58 appearances, playing more than 5,000 minutes. Led the team in interceptions with 37, second in clearances in 91. Born in Mexico, and Carlos was talking about it on Twitter tonight. Pretty sure overall our second Mexican player, Omar Salgado, being the first. I can't think of any others.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Was it Maicon Santos was a Brazilian, I believe.
Right. A lot of South Americans, not too many Central Americans in modern era.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I can't think of anybody else.
Played college soccer at Florida Gulf Coast down in Fort Myers, so a little bit of a local connection. Signed a homegrown deal in MLS with FC Dallas, and is coming to us now. Do you have the stats on Aaron Guillen?
Of one of particular note. Now, I mentioned this earlier with Lewis Hamilton when we were talking about him and the passing and rating for him with St. Louis. Guillen is important because he was a top 30 passer in the USL altogether. As far as the Eastern Conference is concerned, he officially finished with the 27th most passes in the conference, completed passes. Now, again, that's important. Now, granted, I mentioned it with Tarek Murad and being a replacement. Guillen's obviously a better example of that. The other thing, too, is the fact that Richards also finished in the top 30 in passing, I believe, in the league. Granted, it's also because he played every minute, but like that is exactly the type of player that could potentially go either side of the back line. You know, I could almost look at Guillen as being a replacement for Richards. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there as far as an example goes to how we might construct this. Because I mean, you gotta. I mean, again, your back wings were the cornerstone of how we shaped ourselves offensively, because everything started there with those guys pushing forward to a certain degree. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like I said, I think that's important. The fact that you've got a proven passer in the back line, I think that's important.
And if you're looking for any more indication that that a guy like Diakite will not be returning, in the news, in the press release, there's this line: Guillen, 26, surprise, joins Forrest Lasso as the first 2 defenders on a back line that will look drastically different in 2020.
Yeah, I think that tells you pretty much all you need to know.
Or instead of 2020, as the graphics look like, and as I saw someone else comment, what's Zozo?
Zozo! This is the Zozo season.
Brush fonts are wild. All right. Any other? So we've 2 more signings. I'm supposed to be announced. I'm guessing one at 10 and 2 tomorrow. Maybe they're going to take Friday off, get an early start on Christmas vacation.
I hope they do 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. just to do something different, just to be giggles. Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great.
Oh, and we're on a whole different schedule tomorrow. I got to make sure I have things timed so I have access to online so I can check these things.
Hey boss, I got to change my break schedule around just by a few minutes here, if you don't mind. Thank you.
The one thing to keep an eye out for, and we haven't found this person yet, apparently. The other thing we were told about the 6 signees is that one of them has a connection to the club but has never played USL before.
Yeah, that couldn't be any more cryptic.
So
thanks, guys. Thanks for the hints and the tips.
And... I don't know if this is going to be a loanee from Norwich or from Sheffield or something, or if we're bringing in somebody that's got some kind of local connection, but we'll wait and see what happens. We did see
for that matter, it could be an academy kid.
Yeah. We did see that there was one attempt at a transfer that they couldn't get over the line, and Neil Collins tried to bring Harry Maguire from Manchester United that he wanted to come. The 2 clubs could not agree on a fee. And really, I hope he doesn't let this die there, because Neil is a big Manchester United fan himself. I'm confident that Harry Maguire would love to make a move onto a squad with some potential, not one just kind of mired in mid-table doldrums with no discernible light on the horizon No chance of winning a league or even really any silverware. And let's be honest, the USL Championship is more prestigious than the Europa Cup. We don't play on Tuesdays here.
Well, at least not all of us.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna get some crap from some people for that one, I bet. Oh well. Oh well. You can buy microphones yourself. So they're online at Amazon. You want to say anything different? You have at it. All right. Any other team stuff we need to talk about?
Nothing immediately out there as far as player signings or rumors. I'll say this much: if there's a player you want to splash a lot of money on, I know that William Yarborough is up in the market right now. Though supposedly Houston Dynamo is going after him.
Ooh.
I mean,
I haven't heard that name in a while.
that's because you don't watch Mexican soccer like I do.
True.
Nah, supposedly Houston are going after him because Leon has signed a second goalkeeper, and Yarborough was already a bench player, so he's gone, which is sad.
Interesting,
but still.
All right, so let's get to our league news. There's some stuff that there's a lot of stuff. Like I was trying to type this up, and I'm like, oh god, the one like big thing from last week when we took the week off. We'll get to it, but first off, the Tulsa Roughnecks are no more. Long live FC Tulsa. They new ownership has rebranded the name, the logo, pretty much everything. And there's people making some connections to it and the LAFC logo and other things. It's not terrible, the logo itself. I get, they kind of did the kind of what we've done with, going back to the historic NASL 1.0 name. They had the Roughneck name for quite a while. It didn't seem to really catch the attention of the fans in Tulsa. When I first thought about it, I was like, "What? That's kind of crappy for the supporters groups that have some kind of Roughneck themed name." But they seem to be on board with it as well, and that's who it matters to, really. So, my whole thing, I don't mind them changing names, but FC Tulsa, really? Tulsa United wasn't available.
So bad.
Like, I mean, I get it, but now they sound like a League One team now, or a League Two team. So we'll see. Decent job with the logo. Don't have a problem with it at all. Looks pretty good. Charleston. We'll get to that one. The big one. That this is really kind of Rowdies and league news because it's going to have a big impact on us for at least one weekend this season. We now have an in-state rival that is not a B team that we can go on trips to. As they refer to it in the article, so I'm going to call it this way, the Miami FC has abandoned yet to play an actual non-exhibition kind of game, NISA, and after spending some time in NPSL, and has purchased Ottawa Fury's franchise rights and relocated to the Miami FC. The statement I made at the time was the irony of Ottawa FC's franchise rights heading south in the winter was not lost on me. But Miami FC is back. We have a road trip to get excited for. We have an in-state rival. I know the guys that do at least one of the guys I've met and talked to him a couple times that do the Miami podcast, which kind of covers all Miami soccer, even UPSL, NPSL, all these different levels, and now also into Broward County to cover Beckham's MLS team, which is not
Outer
in
Miami.
Outer
Miami FC.
This is really cool. For anybody that doesn't go back as long as you and I do, there's another connection here. The former head coach, current, I guess they're calling him technical director, maybe sporting director, was the Rowdies / FC Tampa Bay's first head coach, Paul Dalglish, for the first, maybe a little bit more than 2/3, 3/4 of the first season. Skinny Jeans Paul is back. How excited are you for more Miami road trips? Miami FC, that's the one. Like, I've been to Jacksonville, I've been to Fort Lauderdale, I've been in the press box when we played Orlando City B. in Orlando. Was not able to make a trip to Miami FC. The 1 year, 2 years because we had the game there, and then we had the Open Cup game. I'm excited for this. Like I don't know where I might be up in Tampa on Sunday. I need to go have a chat with the USL scheduling computer. This cannot be a Wednesday game. This has to be
definitely
a
cannot
weekend matchup. Don't screw this up.
So I've been there 3 times, I think. Now, right? 3 times. I think I've been to Silva Stadium 3 times now. Open Cup and 2 regular season matches, if memory serves. But it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a fun stadium to go to because obviously it's got plenty of seating. So if TMFC, because I really can't just call them Miami FC. I have to call them the Miami FC, which means that in the acronym, I can't call them MFC or M by itself. It has to be TMFC, obviously. So when it comes to that team, I am thrilled that we have an away game that's less than 8 or 9 hours of road driving. I'm so happy to have them back. It's good to have a familiar face in more ways than one, because obviously the front office there is like, whoa, hello. I am really, really excited about that. I'm glad that we have something that we can really try and rally around as a rival game, because the Charleston thing isn't going to work, obviously. I mean, long-term, probably, maybe, we'll see what happens there, but I'm so happy to have an in-state rival again. I'm so happy. Oh. Now we just need to get Jacksonville.
That would be great.
That's the next step. We got to get Jacksonville, which, again, is a couple years away. They got to get their stadium situation figured out, and then probably they'll make the jump.
So one of the things that people started jumping on, and I was saving my take for this, and I don't think I won't even want to call it take because the take implies it might be controversial, is we have to get a name for the rivalry. The one thing, though, it cannot be Florida Derby.
No.
That's reserved, retired until Fort Lauderdale exists again.
Yeah.
I saw some revivals, people mentioning reviving the Coastal Cup. Not terrible, but the Coastal Cup always involved more than 2 clubs. Like, this is a chance to start something kind of new, kind of fresh.
Well, it's confusing because obviously, we were a bunch of kids and nobody knew what we were doing and, stuff like that. So we, the Fort Lauderdale Rowdies thing was actually called, the trophy was the Coastal Cup. The Derby itself was the Florida Derby. And they were kind of interchangeable, if I'm being honest. So, but now that it's a different thing, yeah, you got to have something completely different. I don't think you can award the same trophy, use the same names if it's just us and the Miami FC. You got to do something different, which, again, though, here's the thing. I'm in no rush to naming it.
No
rush whatsoever. Absolutely zero.
Yeah, if there's a good name, cool, we'll go with it. We don't need to jump on it right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I view it.
We can, if nothing, even if we have so whatever happened to the old Coastal Cup? Like the OG original, barely a foot tall, if that.
I want to say we have it somewhere. I know we have to have it somewhere because the last time we played them was the Georgie Restoff hat trick, and we kept the cup, I think, that year.
Yeah.
Somebody has it. I know for a fact somebody here in our region has it.
Even if we end up with, like you said, not that exact same one, but something similar for now, we can, just so I can use the word festoon with some ribbons for the winning side.
I'm in no rush for this. I'm in no rush. I actually 100%.
Even as a
I
placeholder,
personally 100% oppose any type of a trophy or derby name or cup name for anything involving the Miami FC and Rowdies in at least the first season. I 100% oppose any specific titles or names.
So we're just going to call it the Cundiff Cup, and engrave and we're going to engrave "I oppose this" on it.
I mean, would it be a pessimistic Steven if I didn't say something like that and stand by it?
Ooh, now we have to find
Just
out
saying.
who is Miami's Cundiff. Show us your Cundiff.
Don't be mean when you're listening to this and looking around. That would just don't be mean.
All right, so welcome to the league, Miami. Welcome to the league, Magic City Podcast. Welcome to the league, Dade Brigade. We hate you. Now go somewhere and go away. So I was thinking that, there was a lot of chatter on soccer Twitter, because number one, Miami's part of that lawsuit, Miami and Kingston Stockade against, it's against U.S. Soccer, isn't it? Over
Yes.
trying to force and institute pro rel into U.S. Soccer. Silva did own, I think it's been shut down by the courts. He had a TV production company. He was one of those guys behind this. I'll pay, was it like $4 million or $4 billion for media rights, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I wonder, he's not on that side of the business anymore, but I wonder, he still has connections. He still has acquaintances. When USL is starting to pursue possibly a renewed or a bigger media deal, how his role with the league is going to might have some influence or might have some say in those matters, maybe a little bit of leverage.
Oh, stop it! All that money goes to the same person, anyways. It's okay.
All that money, but I mean, you've got a guy with,
and I mean like individual, like it's going to one guy.
You've got some
all
guys,
the money that gets pumped in a USL.
Chuck Blazer's dead.
No, I'm saying all the money in USL goes to like one guy, the owner of the league.
It's not me.
I know. I'm just saying.
I wish it was me.
I'm just saying.
It should be me. But I was thinking about this a little bit because like as part of the press release, as part of their joining the league, they are moving back to what I lovingly refer to as the Silva Dome, even though there's no dome on it. They really should put one on there though. And I remember, because that was one of the stadiums that Beckham and Miami adjacent FC had talked about possibly using in the interim before their stadium was built, or I guess now as it's going to be inflated over the site of Lockhart Stadium. But there's some contractual language between Miami FC and the stadium, or I guess FIU, who owns the stadium, that Miami FC was the primary tenant, but they had to play a certain number of games or at a certain level to use the stadium. And people were trying to figure out why were they doing this? Why were they dropping out of NISA before they could even get off the ground? Why were they abandoning this, pirate football in the U.S., if you want to call it that? And we can make all the jokes about Beckham and Miami, whatever that we want. They're quickly going to become like the dominant force in soccer on the east coast of Florida when they get started. It's going to put some of these small, like these NPSL and UPSL clubs kind of at risk. But with the time and money and effort that Silva and his group have put into Miami FC, it was really going to threaten to swamp them. I think they had to do something like this just to, they weren't drawing huge crowds in NPSL. I think they were, highest crowd was like 700 something. They've got to do this and try and get to USL, kind of average normal crowds, maybe kind of what they were pulling in NASL days for a while, or there's no need for them to exist anymore. So I think this is a move they had to make in terms of survival and also restaking their claim to that stadium.
It's absolutely. Again, it's part contractual. It's part survival, and it won't work because Beckham's going to crush them, and there's nothing that they can do to stop that. And so and again, it's
so
not
you don't want to
Steven,
name
if I'm
a
not a
competition
pessimist.
just because you don't think they're going to stick around.
I mean, it's not me if I'm not a pessimist, but I'm just saying, like, I don't see them surviving 5 years in USL. Like, I think they're either going to move on or fold entirely, but I don't think there's any money to be made in USL for that club with Beckham in, a couple blocks away.
So the other thing I'm interested in seeing is they were some pretty heavy spenders in NASL. Didn't necessarily succeed with that, but when they dropped down to NPSL, to NISA in their kind of exhibition seasons, I mean, the players they had were there were some definitely like USL level players, or
Absolutely.
at worst maybe League One level players, and from what we've heard, they were paying salaries commensurate with the abilities and the experience of these players.
Yeah.
Are they still going to spend that level, or are they gonna up their spending now? Or they wait a year or two and see what happens, and then go back and evaluate?
There's no reason to update the spending. That they already had a USL competitive team, even as recently as last year. I don't see that changing. I think that budget would remain the same. I don't see them needing to make a big splash because they're going to be competing for. I mean, honestly speaking, here, if they keep the same roster they had last year, they're competing for the USL Eastern Conference title right off the bat. I mean, I know that's bold,
right?
But I honestly think that team was good enough to possibly do that. So now, granted, a lot of people are going to say, well, if those players were really that good, then they would be on USL rosters already. And I hear you. I hear you saying that. But that being said, 11 players, all that were fringe players, and some of them were starters, like even as recently as the year before in USL.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in quality is not that much. So, yeah, I would think that Miami would be a competitor right off the bat.
Okay. All right. Anything else we need to say about Miami? Besides
just that I can't wait to beat them.
Welcome and we hate you?
Yes.
All right. So moving on, we talked about Tulsa Roughnecks kind of rebranding as FC Tulsa and coming up with new logos. Two other clubs kept their name. Well, one of them kept their names.
One of them kept their name.
One of them. But there are also some other rebrandings this week. Patrick, this is your trigger warning. You might want to step away now. Charleston came out with a new logo. Same name, new logo. And I'm glad that they did because I'm using them as my evidence that I don't just automatically hate new logos and rebrands by default. I think their new stuff is awesome. I think it looks great. The old Charleston logo was fine, but I think this looks really cool. And it's the same guy who did the Tulsa one, if I remember correctly. Did good work. You know who should have called him, though? LOUCITY. LOUCITY Football Club.
Yeah, Pooh City. I'm just going to call it Pooh City now.
You know what LOUCITY sounds like? It sounds like it's a competitor to Inintech from Office Space. All right. So any thoughts on the Charleston logo?
Charleston's great. I love it. I think it's a fresh look. I'm curious to see because right now it's not the branding that worries me about that club.
No. And and even the logo designer kind of went out of his way to say, "Hey, you guys are in good hands. This is going to be a good ownership group." Which it seems like a lot of people are going out of their way to say it, which makes me wonder either they really are, or a lot of people are being something's happening to get people to say it.
Let's put it this way. I firmly believe that that's a solid ownership group that's in place in the city, and I think they've got a lot of enthusiasm. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does to a certain degree, but it really doesn't. And here's why. The reason why is because the only thing that matter are results. And Charleston on the field is not even the problem that you have to worry about. It's where are you going to play 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Where are you going to play 6 years from now?
So 5 years from now, when Miami FC is extinct, Charleston will be playing where?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's where are you going to play? Because you can't play at that grass, side lot that you're going to be playing at next year. That's not long-term sustainable. That's not even a 2-year plan. That's we found a patch of grass. Let's kick a ball around and paint some lines. I don't care how enthusiastic the ownership group is. Fresno was enthusiastic and whatever, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how happy your ownership group. Sacramento was really enthusiastic about joining MLS. It doesn't matter what your enthusiasm is. It only matters about the results. So we'll see. We'll see. And I'm looking forward to it, but the branding itself is fun. It's a fresh look. They have the same badge for like 20 years, and American sports teams, by and large, don't keep logos that long. So, it is what it is.
Have you ever seen The Untouchables?
Bits and pieces.
Sure. The scene where Capone's having a little boardroom meeting with all his gangsters, and the baseball bat scene.
I don't think I remember that off the top of my head.
All right, so this is going to be a long tangent, needlessly long. He's having the meeting, but he says in there repeatedly, enthusiasms. It's De Niro as I think it's De Niro, isn't it? As Capone, he says enthusiasms. A man's got to have enthusiasms, and he talks about the difference between a baseball player versus a baseball team, how they work together. For one part of the game, they're on their own; it's their individual performance that matters. But when they're in the field, then it's the team performance that matters. And he uses that just basically as a precursor to beating the crap out of a guy with the baseball bat. But every time you said enthusiastic, or I just kept hearing enthusiasms, and I made me wish I had I had a little
if you
something
want to
like
compare me to a
radio
mob
drop
boss,
here.
I'll be happy to take that.
I mean, you have been the mob boss.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Trafficante. The other club who can we call it? All right. Louisville, what the hell are you doing?
Pooh City.
So the name is now LOUCITY Football Club. Or no, wait, not the club's name. Their primary naming reference is now LOUCITY Football Club. They dropped the badge, created a new badge including elements of the original City of Louisville flag, which I had to go look up because I didn't know what that was at all. Even though, and they've changed the colors from purple and gold, which I'm going to get into that part in a second, to purple and black and gray. They even made the stars gray. At least leave the stars gold. Gold is first place, silver second. Well, I guess you could have one gold star, one silver star. Make 2 gold stars and add a silver for last year.
I want to point out, do you know why they have 3 fleur-de-lis in their badge?
Because 3 times in the championship game?
No, that's because they couldn't put 3 stars above the logo, so that was the closest they could get.
Ooh. So number one, let me start with this. I hate the colors.
Yep.
And this is just me. I am not a graphic designer. You'd have to talk to guys like Pendleton or Michael Taylor or all of the rest of designer Twitter who was bashing the logo. Excuse me. When it was released. But they had purple and gold. And when I look at it, it's one darker color, one brighter color. The Rowdies have green and gold, and although it's a kind of a lighter shade of green, I'm going to say the green's like a darker color, the gold's a brighter color. Indy there's the red and the navy blue. The red's kind of bright. I like combos, and this is me. Well, I like combos too. I just had some tonight, but combinations of colors of light and dark. And now you've gone with purple and black, 2 darker colors. With some neutral gray around it. And it's dull. It looks like if you were playing FIFA. It looks like what is it? Pro Evolution Soccer, where they couldn't get the licensing rights to the club, so this is what they came up with as the fill-in.
Yep.
It's all they had a great badge. And now, and then they try and pull stuff off in their explainer graphic, like this straight white line symbolizes the Ohio River, which passed. Because I know when I look at a straight white line, I think about a river.
Here's what gets me about that whole badge design too. The old Louisville City flag, the stars were in the upper left, and the fleur-de-lises were in the bottom right. But in the badge that they decided to create that's supposed to emulate the old flag, it's opposite. Why? Why would you do that? At least make it consistent.
And then you got the thing where some of the stars in the ring were obscured. And also, The old flag has got a blue back. It's like a navy blue background, and now you've got it on purple and black. You've just taken elements off the flag and thrown them on there.
And the sad part is that they legitimately had an awesome badge.
Yeah,
the Louisville City badge was awesome, and I don't really get the need for changing that.
I get, they're tying this whole, new stadium, new look, whatever.
No, that's just bad logic.
Yeah.
That's bad.
The old badge is like, sure, you could tweak it, you can make some changes to it, but it should be the building block, not just tossed out. And then I like people were commenting on the 4-sided triangle in the bottom left corner, and then the other thing, one of the I guess they've got a weekend soccer radio show over there, and they were talking to the chairman, the I don't know if he's the owner or not, but commenting on how they kept the purple color because of that goes back to their affiliation days as Orlando's affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
And that just irked me because no, and again, we're obviously biased against the I-4 Aztecs for various reasons, but you keep the purple color because you're Louisville and your town is named after a king, and purple's the color of royalty.
Yeah.
And you know what? Crowns are gold.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. As an outsider, I honestly think it looks like trash.
Well, and a lot of the insiders, the Louisville fans, hate it. Did you see? Have you seen the tweet of the T-shirt that someone posted?
Ooh, I think I missed that, unfortunately.
So it's like a circular logo, like the Columbus, the Charleston, the Pittsburgh logos, and it says Louisville City FC on it, and it's got the ring of stars in the middle of it, and then the top two at the top of the ring are gold for their 2 stars. And it's just like a random shirt that they've had on sale in the team store for a while. That's a great looking option as a badge, as opposed to this. Like, there's, I think I'm just most mad because if Louisville, first of all, okay, you got to the championship game and you lost, but if you're going to take an L this big, why couldn't it have been in the first round of the playoffs?
Exactly.
My God.
Oh. I know the Monarchs beating you really put a bad smile on your face, but did they really beat you so badly that you had to change your whole look?
Like, this is like
they slapped the logo right. They beat you so bad they slapped the logo right off your shirt.
They beat
really?
the logo off your shirt. This is like when Hulk Hogan walked out in WCW with the NWO gear. Like, they just went heel turn with their graphics.
I just.
Like, someone's going to come out and spray paint this on the front of a championship belt, and just you're going to hear New World Order. It's terrible. It's tacky, and I hate it, to quote School of Rock.
Yeah.
Paraphrase it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, hey, hopefully it means
it
they won't
almost,
play well next season.
Let's put it this way. It almost diminishes my interest in actually going to Louisville next year because the badge is that just...
Is there some kind of rule that they couldn't have a good badge and a good stadium with a decent pitch at the same time? Like, now they've got a new stadium, you've got a crap all over the crest? What the hell?
I would just love to be in the board meeting where that decision was made. Like, hey, guys, let's redesign the crest. Okay, I mean, what were you thinking? Just a little minor tweak? No, let's just throw out the whole damn thing and just start all over. Why not? What?
Do you remember from a couple of years ago, the Best Soccer Show podcast? Jason Davis and Jared Dubois.
I remember vaguely.
I
never listened to it.
I listened to bits and pieces because that's when I was still getting into podcast. I think that's even before I was doing podcasts. Well, they've started their show back up now. It's JD and the Rod, which kind of sounds like a morning radio show. But,
that's different, yeah.
But I hitched onto their Patreon and throw them a few bucks. Nick Suberling, who does Cincinnati Soccer Talk stuff, and he and I have shared pizza in Bradenton before, is doing some of the producer work stuff for them. So one of the benefits is they have their own Slack channel, and so if you're a patron, you get access to that and chat with them. And so they dropped the logo in there, and someone's like, "Wait, there were worse options that were pitched because this is what they said okay to," and like that sums it up. Like it's just. Look, Louisville hasn't really set a foot wrong in anything
until today.
In 6 years?
Like this week.
And it's like, oh, no one's perfect, but this is like finding out the Easter Bunny's not real.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like this is a good lesson to learn for anybody who doesn't have a fan base that's calling for a rebrand. And I don't want to take this close to home, but even with the Rowdies, it's not like we've toyed around with the idea for years about creating a badge. And again, the team we know for a fact has been kind of exploring it, seeing what kind of options we might have and things like that. Just have people from the fan base involved. Don't just arbitrarily go out and say, okay, we're just going to change it all up and not consult anybody that actually supports this club. Because, I know ego plays a part in this, but I don't give a crap if you're the owner of the team writing the checks. Just because you own the thing legally doesn't really make it yours. It's the community's. This isn't like owning a normal business. People are going to watch your product. It's on television and think it's not the normal thing. It's a community asset. And if you're not really consulting the fan base and the community before you go out and just completely change the identity of the thing that they're supporting and watching, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And if anybody with half a brain cell in the United States should have told you that rebranding this club was the most insane decision you could have ever made.
Yeah, just throw a mustache underneath it or something. It would have been fine. I think that's another reason I'm so.
Those are a pair of pajama pants, and it's fine.
But still, I'm just worried, what the reaction. We're just setting this up for whenever our new merch comes out, and we're just throw a mustache on it, like it's Bobby Valentine in disguise. Hiding in the dugout.
Hey, I'm just pointing out, one of the scarves on the wall behind me, the theme that year for the mob was Respect the Stash. So I really can't be mad about it.
That's fine for the mob, but
we had a whole thing for the entire year. It was all about mustaches.
I still have the stickers. If you go get the Screamin' Sicilian frozen pizzas, there's a little punch out one on the back you can punch out, and it's nice big mob looking stash to wear on game days. I've got a little stash. I have a stash of the stash.
I'm not opposed to mustaches.
It's just kind of weird to throw them under a badge or something. But this will definitely be a topic for later discussion. I'm confident of it. This is all going to come back on us too. Louisville Twitter's going to have some fun with this, and I'm just going to sit here and it's like when you're standing in a rainstorm and you're like, "Well, I'm soaking wet. I can't get out of this." All right. So as I put it in the show notes, we usually do when we talk about games, we do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Charleston and Louisville was the good. And the bad ugly.
And the ugly.
The bad ugly. It's the bad ugly. Last thing, and then we'll wrap up. It's already 9:15. We were talking about maybe needing filler time. We should know better than that now.
That's true.
There was a tweet that I went back and tried to find it again because it wasn't directly from the USLPA. It was from a sports business journal or magazine or something. But basically the gist of it was that and this may be in a little bit of a response to our last show with Jock and Graf,
right?
Because there was some conversations had after that, that there has been progress made. I believe the Players Association has submitted a proposal to the league in the form of a CBA. I guess if the league was okay with it and said okay right now, then they could be signed off, and there might be one in place before next season starts. But these things are always in negotiation, and I wouldn't be surprised if this, there'll be some counter proposals and tweaks and everything else. But the USLPA is still making progress, which is a good thing, steaming forward and making proposals. we should find out who we can get from the USLPA to come on sometime. Maybe talk about this.
Yeah, right.
I feel like we have to give equal time after we made him mad last 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
right. I still don't think that. I don't know how they could possibly have one that's actually in place for this season with contracts already written out and everything else like that. Like, I mean, I get the conversations have been good and open for a year, but that's not exactly a long time. I would think that if they can get a contract in place with a players union, that it probably wouldn't take effect until next year. And I think that would make sense. That's honestly, it kind of is logical. I mean, I would be thoroughly impressed if they would have one in place for the 2020 season. And I would, again, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. 100%, absolutely, positively. I want it. I mean, I would be impressed if they could do it that quickly. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and with teams signing contracts with players, and in all honesty, these contracts have been signed weeks and in some cases months ago. You're going to have to, well, and that'll be interesting too, because we're announcing 3 of these 4 guys so far have been announced as 2-year contracts. I'm sure the bare bones part of the contracts are going to be pretty in line. It's going to be more about working conditions and stuff like that. I would be my guess. But might they have to go back and tweak part of these? I think that's it. I think we're good. maybe we'll see if we can get. So our guest wish list now. Let's see. I still want to get Peter Wilt on, talk about his new gig at the USL Mothership. Maybe by putting it out there, we'll get some responses. Maybe we can get Tiffany Milbritt. Maybe we can get someone from the USLPA. We do have, I got to go check on the exact date, but we are going to have another outside the regular sphere of Rowdy's life interview coming up in January. But I think people will find it very interesting. Hopefully so. But that's it. Next Wednesday's Christmas and the Wednesday after is New Year's, so we will not be on for the next 2 weeks. I don't.
That's a challenge to the Rowdies to give us all sorts of things to talk about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I want to necessarily say let's wait till January 8th, which would be like 3 weeks from today. But maybe we do maybe the Friday after. Ooh, yeah, January 3rd. We could maybe do like that Friday if there's a little bit of some stuff we can recap. We're still waiting to hear more information. I'm bugging him from the official podcast account at the Florida Cup. What's going on with this Berlin-Frankfurt game that has disappeared from their website? And apparently rumors and whispers that Klinsmann does not want to bring Berlin to the U.S. at this point in time, having just taken over. So maybe we'll see what's going on there. Because by January, we're going to be getting close to when that game is supposed to be anyway.
That's true.
We're still trying to find out more. I'm trying to remember what I was just thinking a few minutes ago. I lost it. I'm old. I'm ready for about 2 weeks of sleep. We'll talk about. I don't want to keep talking about other podcasts on here, but I was listening to Total Soccer Show the other day, and one of the guys was like, I hate when I'm listening to other podcasts and they do this, but I just want to I want to talk to you about something off air after we're done. And they're like, okay. He's like,
jeez.
I'm like, we do that like every episode.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about something when we're done. Anything else? We got a lot of. I think we got some year-ending "We Love Yous" because I've got a bunch to throw out there.
Well, that's just rude because you didn't tell me that's what you wanted to do. So of course I don't have any.
Well, Oh,
That's
not
rude.
even one.
That's just year ending. What? Come on. You can't drop random stuff. I want to point out for the audience, he's literally never messaged a word of that to me about, hey, let's do a year end. We love you. Really?
Well, it's just encompassing a bunch of stuff that happened over the last 2 weeks. But it's the last one.
Snarling at you.
It's the last ones for the year, so I'm not just going to do like one. So let's do, to start with, Heather Donnelly. Now former sideline reporter, pregame host, jack of all trades for the Rowdies media team. Now, I don't know what she's going to be moving on to, but has been with the club for half of the existence of the Modern Era Club, has done a fantastic job. And I kind of want to say I don't know if it's because of her. I think she played a big role in it, but when she came in is when the kind of, the guys in the booth, they started doing the pregame show. Like everything on that side of things stepped it up several notches. And you have to give her some credit for that, at least without knowing everything that goes on behind the scenes. But I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of things changed for the vastly better when she came aboard.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, it did, absolutely. She absolutely was instrumental in getting this thing. I don't want to say turn around, but
on the right track.
really establishing it in general. Yeah.
Shout out to Amy and Scott from the Skyway Casuals, who are now engaged.
Yay!
I got to witness that last Friday at our little Christmas get together. Had a good time there. Oh gosh, I know there's others, and I can't even think about it right now. There was a couple other ones. Make something up real quick.
Oh jeez, you're so mean.
Do it. Do it now.
No.
Do it now.
I'm going to put thought into that. I'm not just going to hand out "We Love Yous" without putting significance behind them. And that's why Neil Collins is my "We Love You" for 2019.
Oh, nice one. Slip that one in there. I'm going to throw a "We Love You" out to the one I refer to as the pod daughter, who had another birthday yesterday.
Yay.
Might still be lurking in the background here. She should be in bed. It's almost 9:30. So she's probably up. Yeah, I will. I'm sure I will think of others and have to throw them out on Twitter later. Because me telling you last minute means I haven't even written this stuff down anywhere. It's just stuff that popped in my head at one point. All right. So for the last time in 2019, thank you to Wolfface, to Radio St. Pete, and to the Shamrock. Thanks to you guys for tuning in or listening later. Thank you for continuing to share, subscribe, rate, and review. If you'd like to support us on an ongoing basis, I just remembered one more. You can go to patreon.com/unusedsubspod and support us on an ongoing basis. Thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. I want to send one more "We Love You" out to the entire Beautiful Game Network family. It has been a great pleasure to be part of this group. One of the co-hosts of the Pittsburgh podcast just gave birth yesterday, possibly, maybe day before. I got to check the dates on the messages, but congratulations to them, and yeah, it's good. It's a good time, just in general. I'll tell you more about this later, part 2. All right, we will talk to you guys sometime in 2020. Keep an eye out on the social feeds. By the way, how about the fact that we managed to time our Mandalorian Baby Yoda video tweet with the Rowdies player announcement also on the day the latest Mandalorian episode was released. Typically they're on Fridays, but because of Rise of Skywalker coming out, then they put it today. So way to go us for being relevant.
That was cool. That was fun.
Hats off to you for the idea, and I'm still in shock that I got that,
got
it to work.
For what it's worth, I thought it turned out amazing, and I thought I had a lot of fun because I played it a lot today.
Yeah, I've kind of played it. I think I had it at least going once on the drive home tonight, and
I did too.
It was very cool. So yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next year.
Yes.
Well, we'll talk to you at least.
2020 incoming.
That's it from us. Happy holidays, Merry New Year. Whatever it is you do, have fun. Unless you're the person that designed the LOUCITY crest, then you should feel bad, and because you are bad. Go think about what you did. See ya.
All right, go Rowdies.
The Rowdies were here, the Rowdies were there, they kicked the wall around.